To another day of news. When it comes down to it, it seems as though is there's so many people that are so interested in this missing submersible. I've gone around and I've actually done a little bit of research and tried to find something that was slightly different to give us a little bit of different perspective on the situation. So here's Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera says Titanic sub. What are the key challenges in the search mission? A submersible vessel taking five tourists the deep ocean journey to view the wreckage of the Titanic went missing on Sunday, triggering an enormous search and rescue effort. Here's a look at the situation as rescuers race against time to search an area about half the size of Belgium for a submersible, which could be at the ocean floor or bobbing on the surface, with the tours bolted in from the outside. Time of key concern on Tuesday at 1700 Greenwich Mean Time, experts estimated the submersible had about 40 hours of breathable air left, which means rescuers have a little more than 20 hours to find the missing vessel. The big problem now is time. Jonathan Holloway, a retired Royal Navy captain of the UK, has served in submarines, told Al Jazeera. We know that at some point they will run out of oxygen, but of course, running out of oxygen isn't a hard edge. As the oxygen levels drop, you become less able to concentrate, less able to work, and therefore less able to respond to people being outside the submersible trying to help you. Inhospitable terrain, if the submersible is on the ocean floor, it would be nearly impossible for rescue. Nearly impossible for rescue if it's sitting on the ocean floor. If it actually sunk and it's sitting down there, these people with this nearly impossible to actually rescue may not actually make it through the rest of the day. There's less than a day left before oxygen levels deplete to nothingness. The Titanic wreck is about 2.5 miles below the surface. The submersible lost contact more than halfway down in its dive. It's pitch black down there. It's freezing cold, and the seabed is mud and undulating. You can't see your hand in front of your face, said Tim Moulton, the expert of the Titanic sinking in the wreckage. Mike Reese, a previous Titan passenger, said they might be stuck at the bottom of the ocean. Perhaps there was a breach of water came in. I'm not very optimistic for their return, he added. Now, I'd be a little bit more to the point of hoping that they would actually be able to get to this wreckage somehow, some way, and hopefully at least bring it back to the surface within time. Now they've been actually searching over and over again, so you can see, they left to St. John's. There's where the Polar Prince actually went and actually deployed um, the submersible at about that point. So then, after it actually hit the water is where you would actually see time frame. So it says, bring it up. Experts also say that the sub to sub rescue is unlikely from the bottom of the sea. It's unlikely. It's unlikely that you'd actually be able to go down with a submarine and to rescue these people. As you know, once they're actually that far uh, underwater, they wouldn't have enough time to actually transfer them from one sub to another. There's no means for them to actually be able to do such a thing. And if they're thinking that it's stuck in the mud and unable to actually pick it up and to actually, bring it out of the water, they might actually be sitting in their grave as far as that goes. Only a handful of submersible craft exist that could reach the depths of the Titanic wreck. Even if they could reach it, submersibles do not have the power to tow the missing vessel up to the surface. We know more about the moon's surface than the bottom of the ocean because we just haven't surveyed it, said Jamie Pringle, a forensic geoscientist of Keele University in Britain. Finding it on the surface, experts say if the vessel is bobbing in the ocean's surface, finding it will be a needle in a haystack situation. The vessel is the size of a van, uh, will be even harder to spot if it's partially submerged. It is far out in the ocean, so moving ships and equipment at the large area being searched takes time. That is what has been done so far. At least 10,000 square miles have been searched, according to U.S. Coast Guard. The Canadian research icebreaker Polar Prince, which is supporting the Titan, was conducting surface searches with help of the Canadian Boeing P 8 Poseidon reconnaissance aircraft, and the Canadian military dropped sonar buoys to listen for any possible sounds from the Titan. An underwater robot had also started searching in the vicinity of the Titanic, and there's a push to get salvage equipment to the scene in case the submersible is found, said Jamie Frederick in first of the first Coast Guard district in Boston. Two U.S. Lockheed C-130 Hercules aircraft is conducting overflights, and three C-17s from the U.S. Air Mobility Command have also been used to move another commercial company's submersible and support equipment from Buffalo, New York to St. John's to aid in the search. A Royal Canadian Navy ship that provides a medical team specializing in dive medicine and six-person mobile hyperbaric recompression chamber also was en route on Tuesday, according to the Canadian military. The absolutely critical problem is finding the submersible. If it is on the surface, we got a fighting chance. If it's down in the depths of the wreck, then I think time is fast running out, he added. So then it says, how big is the Titan submersible? The Titan submersible is 6.7-meter vessel used to view the wreckage of the Titanic, which is located at the depths of some 4,000 meters in the Atlantic Ocean. The missing craft, operated by the United States based Ocean Gate Expeditions, was built in carbon fiber and is enough oxygen for 5 people to stay underwater for 96 hours. So then, in nice little viewport, uh, there's a private toilet apparently in titanium caps. So it's a semi well built unit that they have used to actually go down into the water to actually view the Titanic. We'll actually cover Hamish Harding and Shahzada Dawood to a point on where they actually come from and what they're actually about before we leave here today. Where did the Titan go missing? The crew of the Titan submersible lost contact with the crew of the Polar Prince research ship an hour and 45 minutes after it began a dive to see the wreck on Sunday. The wreck of the Titanic, a British ocean liner that struck an iceberg and sank in its maiden voyage of April of 1912, lies about 900 miles east of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and 435 miles south of St. John's, Newfoundland. The Titanic sits in the ocean floor about 4,000 meters, 13,000 feet below the sea level. What's the worst case scenario? The real nightmare scenario is that they're alive at the surface, running out of air and unable to get out. David Pogue, science writer and previous Titan passenger, told media, according to Janet Mickelson, a friend of onboard businessman Hamish Harding and fellow explorer, the lack of power is one of the main challenges. The search is being conducted from Boston. They have enough oxygen to keep them alive and sustain them for 96 hours, but they also need power to stay alive. So the worst case scenario is that they have oxygen, but they don't have power. If they don't have power, they're going to become hypothermic pretty quickly. As you know, the bottom of the ocean is going to be very, very cold and dark. That would be very scary to actually think that they could actually have already succumbed to hypothermia if they had run out of power. And it seems as though if they lost communication after the first hour and 45 minutes, they could have actually, lost power all the way back then. And nobody really exactly knows what happened quite yet. Why? Because we haven't been able to actually find it. And, they're not able to actually tell you exact information yet. Were there any previous warnings of the Ocean Gate? Years before Ocean Gate submersible went missing, the company faced several warnings as it prepared for its mission. David Lockridge, Ocean Gate's director of marine operations, wrote an engineering report in 2018 that said the craft under development needed more testing and that passengers might be endangered when it reaches extreme depths, according to the lawsuit filed that year in U.S. District Court in Seattle. Ocean Gate sued Lockridge that year, accusing him of breaching a non disclosure agreement, and he filed a counterclaim alleging that he was wrongfully fired for raising questions about the testing and safety. The case settled in undisclosed terms several months after it was filed. Further, OceanGate has said the craft is designed to reach depths of 4,000 kilometers where the Titanic rested. But according to Lockridge, the passenger viewport was only certified for depths of 1,300 meters or 4,265 feet. And the Ocean Gate would not pay for the manufacturer to build a viewport certified for 4,000 meters. So the viewport in itself, that spot right off the very tip of the submersible, really doesn't have the ability to go down where they're expecting it to go down to, which could be dangerous in itself to actually think that that may have actually burst, uh, throwing a mass amount of water into this and potentially drowning them. There's so many thoughts and ideas to actually go along with this. We have no clue exactly what is happening. OceanGate also received another warning in 2018, this one from the Marine Technology Society, which describes itself as professional group of ocean engineers, technologists, policymakers, and educators. The letter reported by the New York Times said society members were worried that the current experimental approach adopted by OceanGate could result in negative outcomes from minor to catastrophic that could have serious consequences for everyone in the industry. The U.S. Coast Guard says the search, covering 10,000 square miles, has turned up no signs of the missing submersible. So they've been unable to actually find it quite yet. They don't know where it is. There's potential that if it did take on water or if it sank, that it would still be to the point of being unable to be recaptured and brought to the surface. That's disturbing in itself to realize. When it comes down to it, uh, for whatever reason, is when you look into it and you start realizing that America's being greedy. This is British mission to rescue Titanic divers blocked by U.S. So they're disallowing a country to actually join in the search. It says British deep sea surveying company Magellan has reportedly been blocked by U.S. officials from participating in attempts to rescue a diving team that has been stranded near the wreck of the Titanic. In an interview with the Telegraph on Tuesday, Breton Hunchak, the former president of the company RMS Titanic, which collaborated with Magellan last year to create the first full-size 3D digital scan of the Titanic, stated that the UK-based company is in possession of remotely operated vessel that can operate in water in depths of 5,000 meters. He noted that the device could be the only readily available vehicle capable of pulling up the stranded submersible. That's if it's not stuck in the mud. And if it's stuck in the mud, they might actually still be to the point of not being able to actually go down and pick it up. Now remember, It was 4,000 meters where the Titanic actually sat. This particular submersible would be able to go up to 5,000 that they're actually saying that they don't want the assistance from. However, Hunchak claims that the U.S. Coast Guard has yet to give the British vessel permission to depart the Channel Islands, where it has been stuck since Monday to participate in operations. Instead, he says the U.S. officials have said they would prefer to use the New York based vessel that is only capable of exploring up to 3,000 meters. They can't even go down to the bottom of the ocean floor with what the US is trying to say that they want to use. But let's go ahead and block UK based company from actually being able to do it that actually can reach the 5,000 feet or meters. I mean, it's really seriously disturbing to actually think how ignorant the United States is being over these people that they have no right to actually say, no, you can't go search. The wreckage of the Titanic currently sits at 12,500 feet or 3,810 meters below the sea. So it's really dependent on who you actually ask. But still, the 3,000-meter vessel that the U.S. wants to actually go down and actually figure out where it is can't reach to 3,800 meters. Nowhere near. So if they can't reach the vessel, why would they block the UK vessel from being able to actually get there that could actually get down to those depths and go around and potentially try saving these lives of these people? Why not run both vessels? The more help we can get, the better. The denying us means you're giving up um, on every option you have to save lives. This is these are irreplaceable human beings. And really, when you actually look into the human beings in themselves, they kind of are irreplaceable, as they are as intelligent as they are in running the businesses that they've been running. Meanwhile, Captain Jamie Frederick of the U.S. Coast Guard has stated that he was not aware of any report suggesting that British assistance was denied in the operation. We know what that there's equipment out there that can be brought to the scene, Frederick said, adding that the Unified Command is working through prioritizing what equipment we need and then how we get it there. Why do we need to actually tell them when they can and actually not to deploy their own means of actually searching the waters to potentially find this? Just go and do it. Quit trying to play politics about it and actually saying who and who can't do what, when, where, and why. The deep sea submersible operated by OceanGate disappeared near the wreck of Titanic on Monday. According to reports, the vessel was carrying 5 passengers who on Tuesday evening are believed to have less than 40 hours of oxygen left. The U.S. Coast Guard has said it is currently searching the area about 20,000 square kilometers. Meanwhile, a Canadian P 3 plane using sonar buoys has reported hearing banging sounds from an area close to where the submersible went missing, suggesting that its trapped divers are still alive and could be saved. Apparently, they don't want that. That's not something that they're actually interested in. So then from the Epic Times, this is actually updated today. This is underwater noises and banging sounds heard from the search of the missing Titanic tourist submarine. Crews searching the tourist submarine that went missing on June 18th while exploring the Titanic shipwreck in the Atlantic Ocean have detected underwater noises in the search area on June 20th. The U.S. Coast Guard said on Twitter late in the night that noises were picked up by Canadian P 3 aircraft, prompting remotely operated vehicles to be relocated to explore the origin of the sounds. Those ROV searches have yielded negative results but continue, the agency said. Additionally, data from P 3 aircraft has been shared with our U.S. Navy experts for further analysis, which will be considered in future search plans, the agency added. According to internal email updates sent by Department of Homeland Security, National Operations Center, and obtained by Rolling Stone, the Canadian aircraft deployed to search for the missing Titan submersible detected banging noises coming from the search area every 30 minutes. RCC Halifax launched a P-8 Poseidon, which has underwater detection capabilities from the air. The DHS emails read, according to the publication, the P-8 deployed sonobuoys, which reported a contact in a position close to the distressed position. The P-8 heard banging sounds in an area every 30 minutes. 4 hours later, additional sonar was deployed and banging was still heard. The email added the Joint Rescue Coordination Center is working to find the underwater remote operated vehicle through partner organizations to possibly assist. A joint venture, but yet they're actually blocking UK from actually joining in the adventure of actually trying to find these people. Epoch Times is not able to independently verify the emails. Of course, they weren't. Missing passengers identified elsewhere. Richard Garrett de Coyx, president of Travel and Research Group at Explorers Club, of which one of the passengers aboard the missing submersible, billionaire Hamish Harding, is a member, said in the statement posted on Twitter on June 21st that there is cause for hope based on data from the field. We understand that likely signs of life have been detected at the site. The Epic Times has contacted Boston Coast Guard, which is leading rescue efforts, for further comment. The 21-foot tourist submersible operated by OceanGate Expeditions was reported missing on Sunday about 435 miles south of St. John's, Newfoundland, after it failed to return to the Polar Prince, the Canadian research ship from which it was launched. Officials said the submersible lost contact with the crew of the Polar Prince approximately an hour and 45 minutes into the vessel's dive. As we heard about power issues, potential power issues, and not having the power would actually disallow oxygen supplies to actually continue to exist, as they would actually succumb to things like hypothermia first without the power. It's kind of disturbing to actually think that an hour and 45 minutes into the vessel's dive is where they lost communication. And yet we're still searching, and we're giving it another 24-ish hours or less from right now to actually find this submersible. A search and rescue mission has been ongoing since, but experts have warned that the oxygen supply on board is fast running out. The last updated the latest update came from the 5 people on board the missing tourist submarine have been identified as billionaire Harding, who is the current chairman of Dubai-based Action Aviation, a global sales company in business aviation, Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood, and his son Solomon, OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush, and French diver Titanic expert Paul Henry Nergale. We're going to actually go look into Harding and Daywood here in a short moment. In a statement late Tuesday, RMS Titanic President Jessica Sanders said that the Nargolet's knowledge of the wreck site is unparalleled and that we trust to have faith his experience will help navigate this crucial situation. We are devastated with the news, but remain steadfast as we hope for a safe rescue for all, which I believe most of us actually do wish that they were actually saved uh, from this um, scary depths of the sea as it is. If they don't have the power, they could already, succumb to the hypothermia. The viewport isn't rated to actually go to 4,000 uh, meters under the sea. So as far as that goes, there could be other structural issues that actually could have happened that would have actually knocked the communications out as well, which, when you think about it, that was an hour and 45 minutes in. Why they didn't actually do a more in-depth search immediately to actually find them at the hour and 45 minutes is kind of strange in my mind. So this says OceanGate employee filed lawsuit. As recovery efforts continue, OceanGate Expeditions is facing increased scrutiny over reports emerged that the company is previously the subject of a 2018 lawsuit filed by an employee who claimed to have been fired after raising safety concerns over how deep the vessel could descend. David Lockridge, OceanGate's director of marine operations, claimed that the lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court in Seattle that the craft needed more testing and that passengers might be at risk if it reached extreme depths. He was reportedly sued by OceanGate that same year for breaching his non disclosure agreement. In a counterclaim, Lockridge alleged that he was wrongfully fired for raising questions about the testing and safety. The case was eventually settled in undisclosed terms several months after it was filed. According to OceanGate, the submersible is a Cyclops class vehicle designed to take 5 people to a maximum depth of 4,000 meters to survey the site of the Titanic shipwreck. Tour guide typically accompanies the pilot and 3 passengers in the 22-foot carbon fiber vessel, which is lighter in weight than more cost effective to mobilize than any other deep diving submersible. The vessel is also equipped with real-time hull health monitoring systems that provide an unparalleled safety feature and early warning detection for the pilot with enough time to arrest the descent and safely return to the surface. So he had time if he had warning that he could have actually stopped the descent and actually rose back to the surface. So there's still potential that it's on the surface if that would have actually occurred. In an emailed statement to the Associated Press, a spokesman for the company said the missing sub was completed in 2020, 2021, and not the same one that Lockridge was referring to in the lawsuit against the company. Uh, the Epic Times has contacted OceanGate Expeditions for further comment. So it could be, it couldn't be, it could possibly be a different sub that they're actually using from the one that Lockridge is actually talking about. But at the same time, technology is anything different from one to the next? Is there something more to it that Lockridge actually knows that could actually uh, I'll let them know that, if it was a different sub, that they might be okay, that window may that viewport may have actually not have busted or, forcing water into it, which would have possibly drowned them before they would actually succumb to the hypothermia. There's so many thoughts and opinions to actually go along with that. So then, um there's a couple this particular, Instagram post that was actually put up yesterday, or I'm sorry, 3 days ago, is actually from, uh, Harnish Hardin himself. It says, "I am proud to finally announce." Now, I read this last night, so anybody that didn't catch last night's episode, I actually did read this, and I actually went through this as well. RMS Titanic mission is a mission specialist in the sub going down in the Titanic. Due to the worst winter in Newfoundland in 40 years, this mission is likely to be the first of only manned mission to the Titanic in 2023. A weather window has just opened up, and we are going to attempt to dive tomorrow. We started steaming from St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada yesterday and are planning to start dive operations around 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. Until then, we have a lot of preparations and briefings to do. The team on the sub has a couple of legendary explorers, some of which uh, have done over 30 dives in the RMS Titanic since the 1980s, including PH Nargile. Uh, More expedition updates to follow if the weather holds. That last sentence in itself, if the weather holds, uh, could be, destructive in itself to actually think that, that might actually be a thing. Uh, to realize that if the weather got worse than what it was, that they were actually already thinking that the expedition may have not have been something that they would have been able to complete. So then from Ocean Gate themselves, this is from one day ago. This is on June 19th, St. John's, Newfoundland. We are exploring the mobilizing all options to bring the crew back safely. Our entire focus is on the crew members in the submersible and their families. We are deeply thankful for the extensive assistance we have received from several government agencies and deep sea companies in our efforts to reestablish contact with the submersible. We are working toward a safe return of the crew members. Of course, they are. Of course, they're actually going to go for the safe return of all crew members. Um, and really seriously realizing that there's the potential of it actually running out of oxygen sooner than could be. And I was kind of concerned about who is actually on this particular um, boat and or the submersible, and what is actually um, of interest that may have actually caused somebody to, cause harm in any way, shape, or form. So here's Hamish Harding. I know it's Wikipedia. I know, I get it. Uh, Saying is a British businessman, pilot, explorer, and space tourist based at United Arab Emirates. He's the founder of Action Group and chairman of Action Aviation, an international aircraft brokerage company with headquarters in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. On the 9th through the 11th of July 2019, Harding is the mission director for a crew pilot for a flight mission One More Orbit, which has set the world speed record for fastest circumnavigation of the Earth by aircraft over both geographic poles. Harding has been identified as one of the five people in the submersible that went missing in North Atlantic in the wreckage of the Titanic. So when we actually look into Harding, he's a businessman, aviator, explorer. He's gone and he's done so many different uh, tours of different areas or whatever. And he's actually been on the Blue Origin Space Tourist. He's one of those originals to actually do one of those. So and he's been in space. He's gone down to the depths of the sea, and he's done this several times. This isn't something new. The interesting is when we actually look into Shazwada Dawood. Shazwada Dawood is a Pakistani businessman, investor, and philanthropist. He currently serves as the vice chairman of Corporation, director of Dawood Hercules Corporation, a board member of Prince's Trust, a board member of the SETI Institution, and a trustee of the Dawood Foundation. Career: Dawood is a personal friend of King Charles III. Dawood has spoken at the World Economic Forum in the past on several occasions. Dawood has been vice chairman of Engro Corporation since 2003. He served as vice chair of Dawood Hercules Corporation from 2018 to 2022. He has invested in finding in growth opportunities through mergers and acquisitions of textiles, fertilizers, foods, and energy in public listed companies. So this guy already has ties to places like the World Economic Forum, King Charles III, as well as plenty of other companies such as his Engro Corporation, which specializes in fertilizers. In when it comes down to it, Why would they, I'm really seriously concerned that there's more to see here than what we're actually seeing. What is actually happening, and what this guy was about. As you can see, private donations for certain different things that we don't like to speak of here on YouTube, as well as multiple other instances of what is actually happening. So then, it's actually showing that he has, his disappearance as of June 18th of 2023 uh, is actually a thing. So they're actually marking their Wikipedias as being disappeared, as being disappeared. Isn't that something? They just all of a sudden disappear out of nowhere. And, I really seriously, really want to actually know what more is there out there. Who would you actually take over Engro Corporation if, something like this actually happened? I know this is only vice chairman of Engro, but when it comes down to it, others would be stepping up into that plate, and they may be looking at, other, circumstances that would actually allow them to actually step up. I'm not saying that somebody did actually um, go after and sabotage this trip, but I'm not so positive that it wasn't either. All that being said, thank you all so very, very much for joining me here today. Don't forget to check me out tonight at 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time for an episode of Stick with Cool Frog. Who knows what we'll cover? News, politics, and all the above. Thank you all so very much for being here. Love y'all. Later.